So two things came to my mind when thinking about the program formats and topics. One is the importance of explaining the history of the causes of immigration or migration to Philadelphia. That would include going as far back as the Spanish-American War and the American occupation. The presentation of the history can be seen from a number of perspectives. And I think this is relevant to what we were talking about, hidden history. As we know, as a rule, people don't know much history. And I think that some information that can be given about the deep history, the earlier history, would be relevant to today. There are a number of primary documents at HSP for researching the history of Puerto Rico. Some of the more interesting are the field reports during the occupation of Puerto Rico. There's a Citizens Permanent Relief Program, and I list a couple of collections that I've seen. HSP sources also have information on Puerto Rican-American relations before the Spanish-American War, especially in regard to trade. Again, you're going pretty far back, but I think there's a relevancy to it. And again, so much depends on the format and what we're going to eventually give out. For instance, there's a collection of the frigate Atalanta. It's an invoice book, which I found very interesting, about the different trade that was going on, and that's quite early, 1885 and such. So Tallier also has relevant information on the history. There's 5 boxes that are called History, and I found some information there. Some of it was in Spanish, some has been translated for me, and I happen to have a niece who's from Mexico, and she translated some small things, but there's still a lot to be translated. There's still things that I would like to sit down with somebody, and if not go word for word, just give me the gist. From that, because I'm sure the point of view would be different, and just as important, I think, to fill out that history, to get translations from the Tallier collection here. There are articles on slavery in Puerto Rico, maps of old plantations, this is all in Tallier, and the story of a political execution in Puerto Rico from 1891. There's a booklet written in 1956 that has historical notes. Actually, even going as far back, and you can tell where my interests lie, going back to 1492, there's an article called the Taño Tale, the Taños insurrection against the Spanish. I don't know whether we'll go delve that far back, but it strikes my interest. So who knows whose else interest it would strike. In 1993, there's a newspaper article, and also there's information on Tero Alfonso Schomburg, and that was in English, and he went, because we, I think, spoke briefly about him, he did go to New York, and as far as I can tell, I think he gave a speech at a college in Pennsylvania. As far as I can tell, he really never came to Philadelphia, but it's an interesting story, and one that may be relevant if you go a little bit outside the Philadelphia thing. So the second theme we've already talked about, actually, the stuff that's on the board there about similarities, migration, immigration, that kind of thing. Then for later on in the group, I have some things that I would like to know what an exhibit would have in it. I also have a bibliography. Ariel, thank you. You sent me a book and a list of books, and I did get one from that list. And so for me, I tend to do outside reading. I know some of them are actually at HSP. I have 4 books, so that would count as within the HSP venue, that history books on Puerto Rico, and then there's tons of other books written that I've picked up along the way, just for my own edification, and so that's where I've been heading with my stuff. I do have a bibliography. If anyone's interested, I printed out a couple of extra pages.